welcome to another episode of Embracing Wisdom with Stacy. That's me, and I want to just give a little bit of update of what's been going on the last 2 weeks and talk to you a little bit about the power of the pause. I know I've talked to you about this before, but in my present life, it is so important, and I'm practicing what I'm preaching. So I hit the pause button in my life. I actually said, time out. Let's regroup. Let's regroup. And here's what I think about when I think about pausing our life. If you can picture in your mind a vase of water or a container of water, specifically a clear container, and we have a cup of sand and we're pouring that sand into the vase of water, it becomes very muddy, right? And I think that our lives are often the sand being poured into the water, and it's often really muddy. When our lives are muddy, we can't make a decision. We're confused. We feel uncertain. We feel that there's so much going on. We don't know how to make sense of anything. And that's been my present life. I've had a ton of information handed to me. I've had a lot of consultations, a lot of opinions, a lot of investigation, a lot of research. And I finally said, enough. Enough is enough, because I was recognizing that I was having a ton of fear. Now, I'm not a fear-based girl. If anything, I'm on the other end of spectrum. I don't think about danger. I don't think about fear. I don't think about what ifs and if this happens, then I'll do this. I don't. I just live kind of in this oblivious world, and it's a beautiful oblivious world. And so to have fear show up in my life again after decades of not having fear, it rattled me. And so here's what's going on. Here's the deal. I was scheduled for my hip surgery, my seventh attempt to repair tissue around my artificial implant that continues to just erupt. I was scheduled. I went to my vascular surgeon because I have a history of blood clots in my arm from surgery number 4. And I wanted to make sure that I'm safe to proceed with this major reconstruction of my hip, given the fact that I have a lot of blood clots in my arm. I wanted to make sure I was going to be safe. Now, my vascular surgeon is an absolute amazing human being. And he said, well, let's investigate. Let's figure this out. Let's see how your body is doing related to blood flow in the veins. So they did a whole bunch of tests, lots of ultrasounds, lots of tests. But one test in particular put a camera inside the vein in my arm and traced with the camera all the way back to my heart. And what they found was when my arm is lifted, my top rib compresses into the clavicle and the vein in between squishes. When my arm is reaching straight up, there's 100% compression of the vein, which means there's no blood going to my heart. So that's a little bit of a problem, right? And so I got to see the video where my arm's in neutral, I have beautiful blood flow to my heart. My arm starts to raise, that vein gets squished, my arm's above my head, nothing going into my heart. And I actually saw what happens. The blood kind of pools right around the shoulder. It kind of squirts out into these little tiny veins, but it's stuck there. Because I have a history of clots, because I have thicker blood, that hanging out over there, blood pooling, not a good thing. So the remedy for this is to remove the top rib. Move the top rib. You can do anything with your arm because it's not going to press into the clavicle. It makes a lot of sense, right? It's called venous thoracic outlet syndrome. Makes a lot of sense. Removing the rib, not so fun, right? It was like something I had to process. I was thinking about my hip, not necessarily removing a body part. So process that, had a lot of fear about it, lost a lot of sleep, which is not my normal. And I went to see a functional medicine doctor related to my hormones, of all things. We're just kind of monitoring other things going on in my body as I'm aging and all of that. And she looks at what is the cause of this, not how to fix it. So she said something to me that really profoundly hit me. And she said, look, you may have this thoracic outlet syndrome. That may be accurate, true, and valid, but you also have extensive scarring in the veins in your arm, which is preventing the blood to be freely flowing up even into the thoracic outlet part of my body. So why are we not talking about the arm? And I was like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? She's like, nobody's thinking about your arm. You remove a rib, it's not going to change your arm damage. The veins are damaged. They're thick, they're scarred. The blood is thick. Even though I'm on a blood thinner, I'm still getting clots. So why are we not talking about this? What's causing your arm to continue to get clots? It has nothing to do with the pooling up here. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But what's happening is we're not talking about the arm. So we go into surgery, we remove the top rib. I still have damage to the pipes. She explained it like this, like your pipes are full of sludge. And so you're going to fix something way over there by the spigot, but that doesn't change the pipes. The pipes are still full of sludge. So I was like, oh, this makes total sense. So she prescribed some enzymes, some things that are like, that stuff you pour in your sink to get rid of the sludge, sort of same philosophy. It clears out the sludge, helps the blood move more freely, thins the blood, so I have to watch that, but it addresses the arm. This may not have to be resolved because I've always had this. It's an anatomy thing. It didn't just occur. The problem is that I've never had blood clots in my arm before. And so the problem is my arm. And so I left that appointment thinking, okay, I just dodged a major surgery. I don't have to have my rib removed. I can fix my arm. I've always had this compression. It's never been a problem because my veins didn't have sludge in it. I didn't have dirty pipes until I did. So let's clear out the pipes and then I don't need to have my rib removed. So it's like, oh, fear. Got an answer. And in that process of getting a different perspective, I started to get really confused. I started to feel like, do I have too many cooks in the kitchen? Are my team of doctors willing to work together, each coming at this patient through a different lens? My surgeon has her lens, that's her expertise, and she's a genius. My primary care has his lens. My hematologist has his lens. My functional medicine doctor has her lens. Can we all partner together, each looking at the same patient through their own lens and value each other? Now, in my experience, and I've seen a lot of doctors in my life, in my experience, Western medicine has always been incredibly open to functional medicine. They've said, sure, try acupuncture, try supplements, try massage therapy, try physical therapy. Yes, absolutely. Whatever is going to help you feel better, go for it. Every single Western doctor I've ever had, from surgeon to primary care to blood doctors to all of it, yes. Now, the other side of that is functional medicine doctors that I've seen are incredibly anti-Western. They almost make you feel shame because you're seeking out science. You're seeking out, go to the doctor. Something's broken, something's not working, you go to the doctor. Now, Western medicine tends to look at fixing the problem versus what's causing the problem, and I get that. There are some things, however, though, that if my hip is injured, my tissue is torn, looking for why isn't necessarily going to fix it, right? It's ripped, it's torn, the tissue is ripped apart. There's not an enzyme or a supplement in the world that's going to make that grow back together. So I do need surgical intervention. But what's interesting to me is as I have a lot of cooks in my kitchen, the functional side of my world is very judgmental about Western. They say it's the surgeon's fault. Why didn't they catch this? They just want to chop you up. They just want to screw up your leg. Your leg's too long. It's because this happened that this is why. Like there's not enough information or data for them to make these statements. They don't know my surgeon. They didn't read my surgical report. They didn't see how the surgery went. They didn't see how the revisions went. They know nothing about it other than I'm coming in, I'm still experiencing pain. My fluid in my hip is ginormous. But they're not investigating. They're not listening because they have this block that Western medicine, they screwed you up. And I hate that. Honestly, I absolutely hate it. And what that does as a patient is I have a relationship with my doctors, not like I'm not friends with them, but I have a partnership with them. There's a lot of trust. I go in seeking information. If I don't align with the information, that's okay. I ask questions and I move on. I find a different one. Or I seek to understand and I get their perspective and I work together with them. But I don't appreciate somebody immediately judging a doctor that I have a partnership with who doesn't have my history, who doesn't have a surgical report, who knows really nothing about the process that I'm coming to them for. And so I had to like say, okay, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Let's time out. Throw the flag, whatever you do in a sport, time out. And I had to really dig deep into my own essence, my own being, and say, what is going on? What do I need? What solution am I looking for? What am I comfortable doing? Am I comfortable consuming an enzyme or a supplement that could potentially thin my blood too long, too thin? And I could bleed somewhere I don't want to be bleeding? Do I want to take that risk? I don't want to have surgery to remove my rib. Absolutely not. But do I want to put something in me that could potentially be very hard to fix? And so sat with it. Thank goodness supplements had to be ordered. I've had a week now to really process this. And one of the things that was recommended is that I get this device to monitor the thickness of my blood. I've had it before when long years ago, I was on a different blood thinner. And so I reached out to my primary care doctor and said, hey, can you please order me this device? And he said, hold on a minute. It is uncommon for a patient to have an at-home device to check the thickness of the blood. And if that is what is required for this treatment, we need to rethink this because blood that's too thin could be extremely dangerous. Blood that's too thick can be extremely dangerous. And why are we messing with it? Why are we doing this? Let's take a step back. And so appreciate that honesty. No judgment. Let's just stop. Let's pause for a minute and really think about what we're doing. Now, my functional medicine doctor, I think she's amazing. I think she's brilliant. But she spent 10 minutes with me and said, here, take these 5 things, and that's going to fix you. Where my surgeon, the rib surgeon, spent over an hour with me, looked at my imaging, the actual inside of my body, and came up with a plan. What do you do with that? What do you do when you're getting conflicting information that's relative to your well-being, my physical well-being? Now, people are saying to me, 3 different doctors are saying to me, you are at an incredibly high risk of stroke. That's hard to hear. And now I'm going to mess with blood, things that could cause that to shift. Fear rising. What do I do with that? What do I do with that? Now, given the fact that my work is teaching adaptive yoga to people with traumatic brain injuries, many of them stroke survivors, many of them women stroke survivors, many of them in their 50s, I had to really dig deep and say, what do I want to do right now? And I don't know. And so rather than make a decision, I took my vase of water that's been poured sand into for the last 6 weeks since the end of September, this whole outlet syndrome thing occurred or became evident. Lots of sand going in my vase. And I said, okay, guys, let's just stop for a second. I need a break. I'm going to time out. I'm going to pause. I'm going to put my vase over there. I'm going to let all the sand sink to the bottom. The water will become clear. When the water's clear, then we'll regroup, we'll put our heads together, and we'll figure out a plan. But I'm not doing anything until I get clear because I don't think any decision should be made, whether it's related to our health, a relationship, a job, finances. No decision should be made if you're not clear. Absolutely none. And lack of clarity looks like fear. It looks like uncertainty. It looks like losing sleep, not eating, not taking care of yourself. Those are all indications that you are not clear. When we're not clear, we should definitely not be making a life-altering decision. So Again, I've talked about the power of the pause before, but this is a big pause. This is a major pause. This is a chance for me to say, okay, maybe there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Maybe I need to discern which cook gets to stay in the kitchen and which one I get to say thank you for your opinion, your advice, your recommendation, but I think I'm going to go this way. I don't know what that way is going to be, but I had to stop and I had to time out. Because when I start losing sleep and I start questioning myself and I start living in uncertainty and what if, I go backwards in time to a time where I wasn't awake. And I refuse to go back to that. So I literally pulled my car off the side, off the road and said, okay, we're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. We're done. I am going to be awake at the wheel, not asleep at the wheel, and we're done. So I'm giving myself a chance to let all of the sand settle. I'm going to dig deep into my intuition, my gut. I'm going to seek out help, but not too much help because I don't want another opinion. I don't want another doctor. I don't want another cook in the kitchen. I just need to literally write down this, and this. Here's the pros and here's the cons of each one. And then listen to what my gut is telling me and go that route and commit. So that's what's going on in my world. And I think you might be able to apply this to your world, whether you're thinking about changing locations, changing jobs. Maybe your relationship is sort of like, hey, I'm not sure what to do. And you have a therapist telling you to do one thing and a best friend telling you to do another thing, and you're telling yourself to do another thing. Put the vase down. Just put it down. Set it aside for some time, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. Just don't avoid it. Look at the vase. Watch the sand settle. Don't put the vase away where you don't see it. Still be thinking about it, but not consuming about it. And then you'll get clear and you'll know if now's the right time to sell your house and move to another state for a job. You'll know if it's the right time to switch careers or leave your spouse or buy a new car or cut your hair short. You'll know. I mean, it could be a silly little decision that you're wondering, what do I do? What do I do? Put the vase away. Just put it away over there. Just set it over there where you can still see it right over there. But watch the sand settle and then you'll find clarity and then you'll know. I've done this so many times in my life. I get confused, I get fearful, I get uncertain, I lose sleep. Not worth it to me. I put the vase away over there. I give it a week or two, and then I look at the vase with a whole new lens. I see clearly through that water, and my answer is revealed. So try it. Try it for yourself. I guarantee you, you will find it. You will find the answer if you're not sure about something. So that's what's going on in my world. Pause, time out, put your vase aside, watch the sand settle, look at the clarity, listen to your gut instincts, and then move. Make a decision. I'll keep you posted. I'll keep you posted. If I'm going to be ribless or whatever I'm going to do, I'll keep you posted. So for now, everything's on hold. My hips on hold, my ribs on hold, my blood's on hold while my sand settles. All right, take care. I'll see you next time on Embracing Wisdom with Stacy. Be well.